How do you think the workplace could shift again if we could wave the magic wand? I've heard you say in the past that kind of forcing this consistency when inherently the woman's physiology is not consistent. It's kind of changing all the time, and forcing that and just basically saying you have to show up on this very masculine clock Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, never drop in performance. That leads to enormous burnout for women, right?
Oh, it leads to burnout in 9 cases out of 10.
Yeah.
I experienced it personally. I don't know a single woman who works in the corporate world or in the regular 9 to 5 environments of the workforce that is not dealing with significant burnout at this point. And that's pretty scary too, because if we look at what's happening across the world, is women, this is kind of coming to a culmination point. Really, since COVID, it got really a lot more pronounced. But it has been happening slowly and progressing more and more over the last 20 years, which is women are starting to burn out or opt out of the workforce. And so we see this massive exodus of women from the workforce right now across the globe. And it is a major economic issue that the world is taking note of and trying to create systems and structures to prevent this bleed that they have, to try to, close the gaps and clog the leaks.
Stop the bleeding.
Yeah. And that's where the birth of the diversity, equity, and inclusion movement happened, but that was very misguided.
Yeah.
And it was more of a surface level check the boxes than actual making any structural changes that would both retain and promote women into
incentivize them back.
Yeah. Because the workplaces were too rigid and had a structure that did not support the female body and way that we operate. And it's still that way to this day, because we work on a 9 to 5 days a week structure, at least here in the US, but most places work in the same way. And so women are not tolerating this anymore. And they're either leaving the workforce completely, or they're going off to find something that they can do that provides the flexibility for them.
Yeah.
Whether it's starting their own business and becoming an entrepreneur, or working remotely where at least they can kind of structure their schedules in a different way. And all of that is wonderful and beautiful. And that's why I mentioned COVID, because that kind of created these opportunities for women to have more flexibility. So this is the key. We need more flexibility within our systems and structures to expand them to be more inclusive.
Yeah.
We don't need to just check the boxes of putting more women there, putting more women there. They're not going to stay. And that's proven over and over.
Yeah.
They'll leave. Like that's a very temporary solution that's going to fail every time. We need to create a way for women to advance into the leadership positions that they want them to, and be able to contribute their unique skills and abilities and capacities in a feminine way that is different than the way that their masculine counterpart might operate. And we need to create the environments that actually support their well-being and their thriving.
Yeah, the incentives aren't aligned right now. And that's why you've got these panic terms being thrown around, these initiatives that aren't really actually doing anything. They're just shiny objects to distract. Because if it actually was warmer and more inviting and more in sync with more flexibility, you would actually find people willingly not feeling like, because I'm sure the women that are dropping out it's amazing because they do have options. Maybe they are highly educated and they're built a certain way. How many women would drop out if they had the chance and if they could? Probably most of them, because they feel exactly what you're describing. So they're kind of held hostages also by these jobs, which is causing further psychological decay. They're literally becoming one of these people we talk about where they're working to live this job that they feel like is slowly killing them, but they don't have another option. And if we could just get in and just change that, it just relieves so much of that burden. We've still got to work, we've still got to do that, but it's not this, we're not at war with ourselves. We're not like a polar bear dropped in the the Amazon jungle. You're just not adapted for that environment, and it's just not going to work long term.
Exactly. And the pieces that need to change that will cause the biggest improvement are actually not really complex. It starts with education and awareness and expanded flexibility.
Yeah.
If we could just do those two things, we will
big.
see a massive shift across the world on all of our pain points that we have as a human society.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's probably because, I guess, typically speaking, the average organization at the top of the chain is ran by a man who is applying his approach of like, well, we don't need more flexibility again, so why should they? But can't see it through that lens and is rigidly attached to this idea of productivity. So if you break the 9 to 5, which is burgeoning all of this productivity apparently, then you lose that. Not realizing that if you actually created more flexibility for the women in your workforce, they'd probably be way more productive, being able to work less in a way that doesn't destroy them in the process and make them leave after 5 years anyway because they hate it.
Yeah. Well, and think of how grateful, I know I can speak for myself, if I had the opportunity to work in corporations or organizations as I was coming up in my career that offered me the flexibility, I would be so grateful and be healthier and happier that I probably would have never left.
Yeah, right.
I was forced out because I was working within structures that did not work for me, that were burning me out and making me not able to bring my, unique flavor of brilliance that I bring to my work fully because I was sick. And so it kind of squeezed me out. And now I'm out here doing it in my own way, in my own structures. And I'm very happy. I would never go back at this point. But had I been provided an environment that was supportive, I would have stayed
All right,
forever.
friends, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Radical Health Radio. We got a fresh new podcast for you every Wednesday. If you enjoyed the show, consider liking, subscribing, reviewing, and rating us on your podcast platform. It helps to spread this message of radical health. We'll see you next week.